Please remain standing for the singing of the ASEAN hymn, to be led by Attorney Cindy de la Cruz and Attorney Jose Linsangan III, together with Coro Madrigal and the Manila Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Maestro Arturo Molina.
Of ASEAN, yearning to live and breathe as one,
to work together, building a future and raise one beacon for a region. We shall be strong.
We shall be strong. Diversity with peoples first, fulfill our destiny. Loi, loi, grato, our music and dance, raise all our visions in song. ASEAN land, rivers and seas, one region filled with hope for progress and peace. Let our voices sing in unison, cherish our lives and freedom.
This land, rivers and seas, for one ASEAN community.
Imagine there are no borders now. We'll have just one great ASEAN family. Our laws and cultures together in perfect harmony. In perfect harmony. ASEAN
Thank you very much. You may now be seated. Maayong hapon, Mr. President. A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. We are gathered here today to celebrate the special commemorative session of the ASEAN Law Association Governing Council.
To formally open our program, may we call on ALA President, Attorney Avelino V. Cruz.
Good afternoon. As President of ALA, I would like to call to order this special session commemorating the ASEAN 50th anniversary. And I was told by the Secretary General that we have a quorum, right? Thank you. So may I proceed? Salamat datang sa wasdi, ni hao mabuhay, and good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of the ASEAN legal community represented by ALA, thank you, President Duterte, for hosting ALA at this historic Rizal Hall. The ALA attendance, Mr. President, sharply rose, almost doubled. And we're elated that you, a Filipino lawyer, is chairman of the ASEAN, someone who is steeped in the law, a seasoned prosecutor, legislator, and of course, outstanding mayor. Our thanks likewise to Executive Secretary Salvador Bingbong Majaldia, who's seated there. And it's his idea to hold this special session right here in the palace. Secretary Majaldia has been a long-serving official, Mr. President, of ALA. He has been an official of ALA. And I remember he was the first Secretary General of the ALA Gulf chapter. That's a very important position because Gulf represents the most effective mutual legal cooperation among our members. No? That's why Chief Justice Erwin of Malaysia said once that in Gulf, a Gulf shot, if it goes left, is called a hook. If it goes right, it's called a slice. But if it goes straight, it is called a miracle. So I would like to greet everyone, the legal luminaries all here present, especially Secretary of Justice Aguirre, there seated beside my wife, and of course our Secretary General, the Philippine National Committee Chairman, former Chief Justice Panganiban, and of course we've already greeted the 10 heads of delegations seated right here in front of us. So I shall proceed. When ASEAN was founded in 1967, most people expected it to close down quickly because it was then a troubled region of the Cold War. So today, 50 years later, ASEAN is an unqualified success. The 5 countries are now 10. Notwithstanding that up to this present date, ASEAN has no parliament, no governing supranational structures. The secret of its success, ASEAN was founded on the principle of muafakat or consensus, and of course also musyawara, which means cooperation, not majority rule, which it pursued to overcome diversity in race, religion, culture, and economic development. When the ASEAN Charter was forged in 2007, and we are all honored that one of the original signatories to the Charter is now one of our guests here, none other than former President Macapagal. She's sitting right there beside Secretary Majaldia. So ASEAN has moved quickly towards economic integration with free trade in goods, services, and its economic development has accelerated this geopolitical bloc of more than 650 million citizens, which by all reports is poised to become the world's 5th largest economy by 2020. Now, on the other hand, the rise of the ASEAN Law Association, ALA, founded in Jakarta in 1979, mirrors the ASEAN success story. Our unique organization binds together the best legal minds amongst court judges, bar society leaders, government lawyers, and teachers of law in the entire ASEAN legal community. No surprise then that ALA is the only law organization designated in the 2007 ASEAN Charter as its legal advisor, to borrow the words of former ASEAN Secretary General Surin Pitsuwan. Now, since 79, ALA has fostered mutual legal cooperation through interaction among members in assemblies, committees, legal forums, publications, etc. And of course, socials, golf tournaments, and believe it or not, even in music competitions, it's another effective tool for legal cooperation. And that's why we have a concert right after the opening ceremonies here. Even before the ASEAN community was launched last year, ALA has already worked on regional harmonization of laws, which is a mandate in ALA's own constitution. Hence our theme, ALA at the crossroads of integration of ASEAN laws. Mr. President, may I just address this to you? One significant drop we have proposed is the ALA guidelines on best practices on the enforcement of commercial arbitral awards. If adopted, Mr. President, this proposal will turn a corner in promoting ease of doing business in the ASEAN region. Regional commercial conflicts would be quickly resolved, as arbitral rulings are recognized across borders throughout the region. It is now pending with the ASEAN senior law officials, whose delegates, 15 of them to be exact, join us today in our meeting this morning. Mr. President, we ask your support as ASEAN chairman when this work of ours reaches the ministerial and higher levels. On the matter of the South China Sea problem, Mr. President, our governing council approved in Vietnam last year a resolution which advocated, and I quote, the amicable resolution of all issues in the region, always in accordance with the rule of law. That same year, I suggested before the China Law Society, whose representatives are here, that the China-ASEAN Legal Forum revisit the 2002 Declaration of the Code of Conduct on the South China Sea, since left undefined and without force. I am now made to understand that the ASEAN Security Council officials have now rediscovered this document, Mr. President. ALA, through ASLOM, can offer legal service as resource persons through ASLOM in these flaring issues on the subject. Also, Mr. President, delegates from the China Law Society tendered an invitation through ALA addressed to the DOJ, the PNP, and the PDEA on a 1-month fully subsidized training program in China entitled, quote, China-ASEAN Rule of Law Cooperation over Drug Issue and Other Unconventional Safety Problems. Mr. President, please give this invitation due consideration. Finally, this morning, ALA Philippines submitted a framework for harmonization of ASEAN laws, an ALA Institute, which seeks to unlock the potential strength of the ASEAN legal community. The Institute would reach out to all stakeholders in ASEAN, non-legal sectors such as business, professions, through continuing legal programs and research. Through the Institute, ALA would be enabled to complete its homework before submission of proposals to ASLOM or other ASEAN entities. Mr. President, in behalf of ALA, let me assure you, as you being chairman of the ASEAN, of the steadfast support and commitment by ALA as the civil society legal workhorse under the ASEAN Charter. Once more, Mr. President, Mr. Executive Secretary, our grateful appreciation for the honor of holding this special commemorative session of ALA's Governing Council at this very historic hall. Thank you, and a very pleasant afternoon to all. Enjoy the concert.
Thank you very much, Attorney Cruz. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on my former colleague at the Accra Law Office, Executive Secretary Salvador Meldea, who is also a very active member of the ASEAN Law, to introduce our distinguished guest of honor.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have the honor to present to you the President of the Republic of the Philippines, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Thank you. Kindly sit down. Salamat po for the courtesy. May I just make some acknowledgements? Former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, ma'am, good afternoon. Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Executive Secretary Salvador Medaldia and other members of the Cabinet, ASEAN Law Association President Attorney Abilino Cruz from San Beda. He's our icon because he topped the bar at 20 years old. He was not allowed to take his oath of office because he had to wait for 1 year. The law says 21. And so is Attorney Medaldia. The heads of delegation of the ASEAN Law Association Governing Council, Chief Justice Rifkawi Dato Kif Lee of Brunei, Chief Justice Muhammad Hatta Ali of Indonesia, the Association Secretary General Regina Heraldes, members of the ASEAN Law Association Council, ASEAN Interparliamentary Secretary General Isra Sonturn Bot. I hope I have pronounced your name correctly, but if I didn't, kindly accept my apologies. The former Chief Justice Artemio Panganiban and other members of the Supreme Court of the land are here. Some are my classmates. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. To be frank, I was hesitant when I was about to enter the room through the main walkway that I entered from the other side because I was given a two-page speech, which I could finish in about a minute and a half, and it would not be befitting the assembly of distinguished jurists and lawyers. So maybe I can read the penultimate paragraph to do justice to the guy who wrote this. I'm sure that he's a member of the legal, I don't know, but this is, it's supposed to be read by me, and I will read it, but this is not mine. I therefore call upon Allah to continue providing opportunities for the meaningful exchange of knowledge and information among lawyers from ASEAN nations. Let us work together instilling upon your members the best practices in the profession so that they can become crucial players in building a stronger and more dynamic regional community. It is my hope that Allah would become instrumental in addressing the regional scourge of poverty, transnational crimes, and terrorism so that we can create an environment where businesses can flourish and our peoples can live in lasting peace and prosperity. And then I say thank you to you, but not yet because I'm trying to formulate something which I can talk with you. Now, I'm a lawyer. I'm a graduate together with, in 1972, the class of class 72. It was during martial law time. And that was the first time that the law examinations were moved from October to November. And so with the former Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Perfecto Yasay, he was a fugitive, and that is why I can understand really, he got out of the country, sought sanctuary in the United States because he was wanted by the armed forces for rebellion, and every day was lumped into and that kind of conspiracy. But may I just, I know that I have been demonized, and well, of course, I will assure you, upon my oath as a lawyer and before God, that some are true, some are not. And the extrajudicial tag that has been placed on me is simply not true. I have been a prosecutor for almost 8 years, doing trial work almost every day to earn my keep before I became mayor. And this is really what happened in my city. Find me wrong if you can and tell me about it after this program. I was elected mayor in 1988 of Davao City. It was then a topsy-turvy place. It was where the killings of police and military men and other civilians and barangay leaders, all connected with government, were being slaughtered by the New People's Army. And to add to our agony was also the rampaging crime. If there's a breakdown in the law and order, all guys with evil intentions are into it. But when I became president, I just said that to the NPAs, I do not want to have a war with you. We've been friends because sometimes we share the same values in life, as for example, land reform, the sharing of wealth of the nation. And I was very strong in the social approach of the problems of the city. I found allied sentiments with him, and I was quite a bit identified as a leftist. If you mean a leftist that as an NPA could fight government, that is not my position. I said that I will not kill a Filipino just because we do not agree with each other. And for the life of me, I was crossing the ideological borders, and that is why we remain to be, sometimes we attack each other, but at the end of the day, we find time for forgiveness, and they always wanted, and until now, to resume the talks between government and me. And I told them, you know, in the past, it's all politics. When you're just a mayor, you do not carry the burden of compass and direction for anybody except for your own city. And it is always the votes that would count. But as president now, I carry the burden of governance, and as a democracy, I am here as the president now, and my main or fundamental duty is to protect the people and preserve the Republic of the Philippines. Nothing else would matter. And when I won as mayor, I was able to talk sense to the Communist Party of the Philippines, but I was having a hard time dealing with criminals. And so I said, you know, I am not a soldier, I am not a policeman. I am here tasked by the people to build a city. Kindly, most kindly, do not destroy the community with your continued depredations. Do not destroy the young people of the community because they are our only assets. And I said, I. But I told the police, now is your time to do the right thing. Now, about the only reason why there were rampaging criminality before, and even I was mayor, was because the policemen were hesitant to enforce the law. You know, much to my dismay as a lawyer, the leverage being used, and you know that, judges and even the Secretary of Justice knows it, that when they are charged, the one who's criminal, raping and killing and everything, they also file cases against the police. And invariably, the one who has been arrested by the police would have the money to finance a case. But sadly, the Republic does not provide any lawyer for any the police. They are on their own until today. Well, better this time because if I think that you committed an act for which you are presently being charged, but you can prove to me that it was done in the performance of a duty, and you have to save your own neck, you have to save your own life, to preserve your life, then go ahead, and I will take care of you. And that was the rule. And I said to everybody, remember this. Policemen were afraid to apprehend. You know why? There was no protection at all from the local governments. But since I was a prosecutor, and I have seen so many cases fall because of the absence of a policeman or a policeman bought or a policeman who is a coward or a policeman who does not just really care about his work. And so I required every policeman, when I was a mayor, to attend hearings and testify in court to secure a conviction. And that was my habit when I was a prosecutor. Every time a case is called, People of the Philippines versus Juan de la Cruz, and the judge would say, ready, Mr. Prosecutor? I said, sir, I do not have a witness for today. And if this continues for about a number of times, the case would always be dismissed on the ground that the accused is entitled to speedy trial. And if the case is called thrice and you do not have the witnesses, the case goes kaput and leaves the policeman hungry, because when a case is filed against a policeman, a peace officer, or a law, he is suspended that day. And he loses his salary, and there is no food on the table, and there is no money for the children to go to school. That has been my experience as mayor and as a prosecutor doing trial work. That was a reality on the ground. So when I became mayor, I had to do something with my mouth. And I said, I would kill you if you destroy my city. If you keep on distributing drugs, and that will destroy the future, and he becomes just like a zombie with no direction and a wasted life. And if you do it in numbers, I will kill you. Make no mistake about it, I will kill you. And that is the rule when I became president. And during the time of President Arroyo and during the time of President Aquino, not their fault, but there was this flooding of drugs in the country. Little did we realize that as early as 40 years ago, during Aquino's time, we had already become a narco state because, as it is now, most of the barangay captains are the heads of the most basic government unit. It's the barangay, then the municipality, then it's the city, the province, then the regional offices, then you have the national government. And that was a very sad thing to realize. And I know that every time my case is dismissed, it's either because there is no policeman to testify, or that the evidence that I was holding, which was supposed to be shabu at the time when it was seized by the police during an arrest, turned out to be just an alum. To my horror and embarrassment, and the harsh words of the judges, I know that you have a temperament, everybody is busy, and the penchant sometimes to just berate a lawyer in front of people. And those are the sorrows that I had to deal with. So I said, do not do it in my city. But I did not tell any policeman for the life of me to kill just everybody, perhaps sitting down or kneeling in front of the police with his hands outstretched in surrender. That is really murder. And every policeman gets an education of 2 years. When I was a prosecutor, to augment my income, because I already had 2 children. One then is the mayor now of Davao City, my daughter. I had to teach criminal law, criminal evidence, and criminal procedure. I am sure that there never was a time that I said, go out and just kill the criminals. It's always been, go out, do not be afraid, I will support you. And even during the time when I became the president, I went to Camp Crame, same speech, and I said, go out, hunt for them, then if there is a confrontation, ask him to surrender. But if he does not submit to the custody of the law, the requirement is the police officer must overcome the resistance. And if that resistance is violent and the police thinks that he is going to lose his life, my God, shoot him. That was the same lecture that I was giving when I was a law professor of the Police Academy in Davao. Now, find me wrong in my statement when I say, I will kill you if you destroy my country. I will kill you if you destroy the young of my country. I am asking everybody to find me a fault in those 2 statements. I have always stressed that the only time that you can kill a criminal is when your life is also endangered or you're about self-preservation. But you know, politics and the fake news that some of they invented events and they gave 4,000 dead. Me, for the 22 years that I was mayor, I would say easily 600, maybe. It could reach that number. And all because of police encounters. The problem is, they always think that this shabut who ingest inside is a chemical that is, they say some experts came here from America, my God. Here is a precursors. 2014, it's the International Narcotics Control Board, United Nations. Here are some of the pamphlets. Cannabis. Cannabis is a tobacco-like greenish or brownish material made of dried, flowering tops and leaves of the cannabis. That's poppy. Cannabis, resin, or hash. It's a dried black-brown secretion of the flowering tops of the cannabis plant, which is made into powder. Every drug is characterized by its effect, but it says other effects. Cannabis smoke contains 50%, far more than high than the cigarettes, which could put users in an increased risk of lung cancer and other respiratory disease. Cannabis changed my brother, as the stories, testimonial. And this is a United Nations publication. And I can maybe reproduce it. Someone gave it to me. And it says, cocaine is a fine white powder that acts as a powerful stimulant. It is extracted from the leaves of the coca plant. On the street, it can be diluted to cut to other substances to increase the quantity. Crack is cocaine that has been further processed to ammonia or sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, and the like, and small flakes of rock. Risk. Mixing cocaine with alcohol is dangerous cocktail and can greatly increase the chances of death. Now, because I will explain. There's the ecstasy, it's stimulant. So it's a sexual stimulant, they say. And we have heroin here. And heroin, the other risk of heroin is that users risk overdosing on heroin, which can lead to coma and death through respiratory depression. Shabu, methamphetamine. It does not come from a poppy, unlike cocaine, heroin, or the other effects. It is a combination of deadly chemicals. Methamphetamine is part of the group of drugs called amphetamine type stimulant. It is a synthetic drug that is usually manufactured in illegal laboratories methamphetamine comes as a powder, tablet, or crystals that look like shards of glass. What are the risks? Methamphetamine use sometimes triggers aggressive, violent, and bizarre behavior among users. And so, when I asked the police, and I said, I declare war, you know why? During the time of General Santiago, when he was the chief enforcer of PDEA, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, he said there were about 3 million affected Filipinos contaminated with shabu. During my time, I declared war. And many of you Filipinos saw it on TV, people's surrendering by the hundreds of thousands. At the end of the year, I took my oath of office in June 30, so I started to work July. At the end of the year, we were able to make an accurate count of 1,300,000 additional drug addicts. So my country is now reduced to slavery. A good portion of the population are slaves to a drug called shabu. And shabu, or the overuse of shabu or constant use of shabu, 6 months to 1 year, shrinks the brain of a person. That explains the aberration, why they are violent and sometimes very aggressive. So most of the victims who were killed, and according to the bright guys of this country and the political opposition, the guys who cannot accept defeat. They invented the fake news and concocted figures. I do not deny that there were people killed in that campaign. But what is they say is, why are they killed? Because a shabu user or a lieutenant of the shabu syndicate has always a gun. And that is my experience when I was mayor. And sometimes I am there to watch. Sometimes I participate. They always fight it out. And this document of the United Nations, who until now is in denial about the problem of the worldwide use of shabu. Now, there is now a less use of cocaine, heroin, and all, because you get it from the 14, the Golden Triangle, Burma, Cambodia, in that, they call it the trail of the shabu merchants. And in South America, you have to get it, the poppy, or from the neighboring countries. They have to travel. And there is much risk because of the so many countries and the so many checkpoints that you have to pass. Well, if you just cook shabu where you are, and you can cook it, just create something which is smelly, piggery or a poultry, and that deadens the peculiar smell of shabu. And you can cook. The precursors are there. It's a report of 2014 of the United Nations. So now the question is, why is Duterte enforcing the law only against the poor people let me tell you now, here and now, the market of shabu is the poor sector of society. Because, the rich people, they don't really go crazy at one time or that easy. They use it sometimes cocaine, but they are the rich people beyond the reach of the law. They have their own yachts. They can go around Manila Bay, or some of my friends who are really, I know, to be into it. They ride up in the air using the jets, and they do this session. So, those are the rich people who cannot reach the price of cocaine and heroin. But shabu, one sachet, is only 200,000. If you 200 pesos rather, per one sachet, this is small plastic. Sometimes you do it every day, then it's about 6,000 per month. You times it 12 months. I'm not good at math, but you realize something like times 12. That's about times 12 million. That's about 216 billion industry. Money intended for the Filipinos circulating from their sweat of their by working at the same time being a shabu user. So this why the poor people? Because it is being peddled and distributed amongst the poor people. You cannot go to the plus subdivisions of Forbes Park and start whispering to the guy, hey, now, I will solve the problem, the riddle for you. Why are minors being killed? In this country, 15 below, they do not incur any criminal liability. Our penal code before provides the crime time something like below 9, no criminal liability. And that is correct. I agree with it. Then above 9, below 12, if there is malice. As for example, a little boy who steals for food or maybe clothes, we can look beyond it. But if this guy, this little boy, starts to molest a girl or a woman, certainly there is malice in it. Then the law says above 12 but below 16, or whatever the crime, there's always the indeterminate sentence law. Here is a catch. He is my friend. I do not deny his competence. I do not deny his honesty. But if there is one single person who's responsible for all of this criminality, when that law took effect, it is Senator Pangilinan. Why? Well, I'll tell you. They go abroad, they travel, then they observe penitentiaries, and maybe in the state of Washington, not D.C., Washington State Shuttle, or the juvenile offenders law of New York. He copied the 15-year-olds below, no criminal liability. But he did not provide for after the arrest mechanisms. He could have done it by making a law that would make everything compulsory. After the arrest, that boy has to be placed in a halfway house or facility to learn more about criminal responsibility or even the sense of accountability. And he says there is an SW, the social workers. The social worker in my city has no grills, has no doors, it's open, and they are there broke, and they can go out everywhere. If you ask any policeman now when you go out, that is the sad story of the Philippines. Once a teenager is arrested or a minor, and the police does not even bother to bring him to the station. If he says that he's a minor, because if he detains the minor, he goes to jail. It is now the police who would be facing charges. And that is why you hear me with a bad mouth, with a foul mouth. Do you know why? I could not even think educated people and the other guys from the other party understanding the whole story or the reality on the ground. So I sometimes do it on purpose just to shame you. Like the European Union. They do not say that they are giving aid. They denied it. But they are. They are. So when Sonny Dominguez, my finance officer, said there's a plan to give us, I said, for all of the European unions, say no to them. Say no to them. We do not need that, I said, Sonny. We can survive as a nation. But, you know, you do not tinker with the sovereign nation, with my sovereignty. Because when they give aid, they impose conditions. And sometimes they have been critical of me. And even the United States, Obama openly criticized me. And the fact is, which is really the practice, some progressive alliances from the EU would come here to take a look. But they look only of how many persons allegedly killed by extrajudicial process. They don't even bother to say why were they killed. Wala, basta pagdating lang dito, these are the number of persons already killed. And they start to blurt out about me being an executioner and all of these things. When as a matter of fact, I never ordered any single policeman in this country to say, just kill them without any reason. And that is why, to my dismay and chagrin, and for placing me there as if I'm really something of a demon, I retaliate by just dishing out epithets, curses, and whatnot. Because everybody now wants to believe, and they only count. There were 10. Look at the news of this new. They would just say in the Philippines there were 10,000 people, and those were invented. And even if I have, who was my victim? You said 10,000. Where did it happen? How did it happen? What weapon was used? They could not even answer that. That's part of due process. When you accuse a person of killing or committing a crime, you should place there. Rolando Marquez died by. They just count, and according to the newspaper, there's 10,000 killed. Is that all? And you want me to be nice, to be courteous in my mouth? You just count the number of dead. You know, I am appalled by the, I don't know if they have something is wrong in the gray matter between the ears. He should have asked, why were these persons killed? What could have been the reason? Or what was the cause? Then I would tell you that I have now 1 million addicts. And the police now are working because I told everybody on TV, I will never, never abandon a police who kills a person in the performance of his duties. It's always work on his life. If he is working and his life is in danger, the family losing the breadwinner, for after all, they're human beings. Why should you only worry about the deaths? I have lost more than 200 policemen in the drug war. I have lost soldiers more than the police. Because in Mindanao, when you make a raid there, you are met with an M60 bazooka or an RR repeating rifle. It's a machine gun. It's a powerful gun. How did the Marawi siege start, if I may ask you? Do you know? It was started because the police went there to serve a warrant of arrest of one of the Mautis for drugs. When they went there to serve the warrant, they were met with a volley of fire. They had to call in the Marines. And you know what? The Marine crossing that Mapandi bridge there all died by sniper. It was an open. And my fraternity brother from San Beda also, he's in Maranao, like me, my Lola. He will tell you that they were really sitting ducks there. Then why did it took us almost 3 months, going to 4 months, to end the war? Because they were prepared. And why did it took us almost that long to? Because they were stocking the weapons. And the Shabu were all there in the tunnels. Now, they say that this Duterte is only going after the small fry. Really? When I ordered an operation against Parahinog, the mayor of Osami City, I didn't have the second thoughts about, what will happen. Because I knew that he was going to fight it out. Why? Because there is no election. You ask a judge or a prosecutor from Marawi, was there really democracy in that city? For the longest time, there was no election. You run after him, he will kill you. The policemen who disagreed with him were also killed. So when government killed him, we started to dig, and we found the bones of the policemen still in their uniform. And so we had to take him out. I said, go and take him out. He was a criminal. And in one of the houses, they destroyed it already, but it was shown on TV. His house was almost a palace, and the wallpaper of his palace, and every Filipino saw it on TV. It was shown there. The paper wall of his palace was 500 pesos bills currency of the Republic of the Philippines. So, the mayor of Iloilo City, I identified him. This is broadcast nationwide. I said, you're next. You're next. But after the mayor of Espinosa of Albuera, same thing. He shot two of his policemen in front of the people in the market because they would not obey him. And he has killed so many people. Shooting there, shooting. No election. It's always terrorism. No democracy was working in that place. And the freedom of the people to choose their own leaders was really absent. And you want me to be nice to you? You kill police officers and you act. I do not blame you. I called for them in this room in 3 batches. There are so many mayors. And I said, you be careful. He said, do not do it because I will go after you. And probably, if I have to kill you, I will kill you. And that is what I said to General Luot, who was a military man at the time that he just retired. And the idiot is now the mayor of Daan Bantayan. And he said, why do you have a sal end of 100 million? He said, because he was a successful businessman. Well, successful businessman in dealing drugs. He just omitted the last phrase. As President of the Republic of the Philippines, I have to protect my country at all costs. Maybe, whatever your rights under no will end when the interest of my country begins. Sorry to tell you that. Do not ever, ever mess up with my country. We will never understand each other. Now, what's the role of the minors? Why is there an adult and a minor? Well, because the adult is the distributor of the place. And the runner is the minor who does not have any criminal liability. So when he is arrested, he is freed immediately. Immediately. Don't ever think of that, that they are sent to, no such thing. Believe me, I'm telling you. The moment they're arrested, you saw several of those snatchers, which was taken by a video in EDSA, grabbing necklaces, bags, and everything, and they run. And there's a drama on TV, they were arrested. You didn't ask them, what happened to the arrest? And they would just say, we released him. Pangilinan says there is the SW social worker. It ain't true, my friend. You are there. You have been always a senator. I've been dealing eyeball to eyeball with this problem as mayor, as a congressman, back as vice mayor, then mayor again. I should know my business. Now, look, you don't arrest. What I told them was to destroy the organizations. Believe me, shabu or distribution of drugs is always organized crime. It can never be one where you can pick up like peanuts or buying candies in the sidewalk or buying something which the itinerant selling cigarettes there whenever there is a stop in the traffic. It is always an organized crime. There's always the one who would cook. There are the lieutenants who would distribute. And there are the peddlers who deliver. Now, what about the minors? Well, some minors are also hooked into drugs. And they refuse sometimes, but not all the time. Minors, you hold them and they would even, so sometimes the police have to overcome the resistance so that you can be brought to the station or to the judge to answer for your misdeeds. Minsan, they suffer hematomas there in the struggle. And the following day, after they are released they are immediately released, they go to the doctor, have the camp examined, and after that, file a case against the police. And sometimes, the obscenity of it all is that they are the ones milking the police. Give me the money and I will withdraw my charges against them. Do not ever think that everything is in order in this planet. Please. Always, we have been taught there is always the evil and the good. Do not presume goodness all the time, or this country will sink. That's why before you have rape, it is only the time, the advent of drugs, that you have seen infants, 1 year old, 18 months old. They just pick them up, roaming around, and they are taken into a corner, a building that's vacant, and they're found dead. And when they commit a crime, they rape the blind mother, rape the daughter, then stab the 1 year old, pati yung 1 year old pinakialaman pa ng. Now, if you're the president, how would you feel? Then how now the sense of responsibility of preserving the Filipino, protecting them? Look, everybody knows that when I assumed office, I fired 9 generals from the police for being linked to drugs. Who do you think killed so many persons on the streets? Me? I never ordered an operation because I was wary all the time. Who is the police who is honest, who is not? I studied the landscape for 2 months, who to place there. But the killing started. You look at the statistics. Even before I became president, 2 weeks before I became president, there were already killings. 10 a day, 5 a day. Look back. You can scroll it in your, it's very easy now. Scroll it back and you will see the number of persons dying or dead even before I assumed the presidency. Who do you think killed them? So that is my case. That is my summation of my innocence, if you may, or my guilt to the others. But that is how I operate because I am tasked with a very onerous burden of keeping the citizens safe. Why? Remember, there are 2 million Filipinos working abroad just to earn money to send to their children for food and education. Remember that. Sometimes you hear them. I will not mention the country, but this is not the first time that they are there as domestic helpers, jumping out of the door, being raped, being killed. You know, in some countries, if you are bought from the slave markets of Africa, or you are doing domestic work but paid, you are a fair game for sexual abuse. By the head of the family, by the son, by the daughter, by the brother-in-law, and they swallow their degradation almost every day just to earn a living. And they send money to it. And the neighborhood guys there know who was the ready money. Who among these youngsters would have the money? You know, and they would target these children, these young guys, because they know that they receive money. I said it's the community who is poor that is the center of gravity of illegal drugs. Shabu thrives in the poor communities. It is not a problem for the rich people because the rich people know that they would go crazy. All you have to do is to read. And every characterization of the... it is only here in Shabu which says that you go violent. And this comes from the United Nations. And these United Nations, they send investigators here to just find out how many persons were killed. And so that's why I insult them. And the EU says, why? Because when they go out, they make a statement that in the Philippines, they follow the line of the opposition and those, and say that there were 10,000 killed. Even make it 20,000. According to the board, there are 20,000 killed by extrajudicial killing. The son of my cousin. That's why I said you. That's how I have a foul mouth. Because they come from EU. And how can you be so ignorant and short of understanding? It is a social problem. If it is a social problem, then begin by saying that there are deaths, but why are there deaths in this country? What causes the bedlam? You just don't come here and say, how many dead? Oh, this is enough. We will trumpet around the world that threatening with prosecution before the International Court of Justice. Go ahead. No problem. But just give me a audience who are educated. So that's why it appalls me to learn that they can be so stupid about it, that they not, almost an ignoramus. See, in all of the characterization, it is shabu, methamphetamine. The effects is sometimes triggers aggressive, violent, and bizarre behavior among users. It's not enough to put them on notice that there is something terribly wrong here. That is why with the, pardon me sir, with the Senator Angara, I appointed him as an envoy to the EU. He has been trying to explain to them, but I said to them, if they listen to you, sir, fine. If not, then they can all go to hell. That's what I said to Obama. You can go to hell. Why should I not tell him that? He was berating me in public. His State Department usually publishes the report of extrajudicial killings. But how about the millions already dead and the millions who are hooked into the drugs permanently? Oh, how about them? How about the fathers, the sacrifices? The OFW, breaking their backs, working, sending money only to realize after so many years working that their sons or daughters are not humans anymore. It is a social problem, they say. So treat it with a correct. But there is also a crime. And me, for the benefit of all, poor and rich alike. This is what my oath of office says. That I will enforce the law against all, does not say rich or poor. And in organized crime, we know that if it is an organized crime, it is always a conspiracy. And if there is conspiracy, the act of one is the act of all. So when I say destroy the apparatus of the drug syndicates, you have to destroy all. Because you enforce the law not only against the rich. Unfortunately, though, shabu thrives in the poor communities. Otherwise, why would I waste my time with that? I said, I am a president. I am not a soldier. I am not a policeman. I build a nation. But, you know, it has to be a nation run by the rule of law. Tell me now, what is my sanctuary in the face of all this onslaught against the people? Do I kill innocent people? What will I get? You think God will like it? I will ask you, Duterte, how many persons did you kill? You know, my count is, I said when I was mayor, more or less, I can give you a rough figure. God, it's about 600. Oh, how about in Manila? I say 10,000. You know, God, if it's really 10,000 and they are dead, why don't you ask him? They are here already in hell. And you'll get the true answer. You say, why are you dead? What's wrong with you? For what? Very easy. I am not afraid of the wrath of man. I can always explain my duty. If my duty falls short of the expectations of the people or would have a different view of how things would be run, I'll accept it. I can go to prison even. What I'm afraid of is the wrath of God. It's always God that counts. Not the God of some religious people. Maybe we have different gods. My God does not allow youngsters to be raped and to be killed. My God does not allow shabu to thrive, to destroy people's lives. My God says that I have to do something because God says that you were elected to really serve the people. And if I go down, I will go down. If I go up, I go up. I place myself in this. Whether I go up or I go down, I will do the things which I have to do because it is my work. And I am a worker of government and I serve the people of the Republic of the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for that very inspiring message. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Thank you again, Mr. President. Please be seated. We shall now, of course, continue with our fellowship. We have prepared a very special concert for this afternoon or this evening. As was mentioned by our ALA President, Ave Cruz, music is a major part of mutual legal cooperation.
Established in 1926, the Manila Symphony Orchestra, one of Asia's oldest orchestras, will play Toreador, George Bizet's composition from Carmen Suite.